Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be interviewing another old comedian friend of mine from the Bay Area, and that is Alicia Dattner. Very funny lady, very improvisational, very almost theatrical monologue like comedian with a little bit of character work thrown in there and stuff. She's a very unique stand-up comedian, and that's what I haven't seen her in a long time. That's everything I remember from her back in the day. But we're going to get into her beginnings and our days at the Brainwash Cafe. I've been very obsessed with the Brainwash ever since it got closed down, and just I've been romanticizing the past about it lately and stuff because that's where stand-up comedy began for me, you know. And it's just a crazy thing that it closed down after so long, and it was a place where so many San Francisco comedians of my generation got their start. And so Alicia and I are going to be talking a little bit about that today, and her stand-up comedy in general. So yeah, here's my interview with Alicia Dattner.
Hey,
Hey Alicia, welcome to the show, and how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, awesome. Oh yeah, you and I have known each other for a long time now, but I haven't seen her talk to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Before we get into all that, though, I want to know, so, were you always funny growing up?
Ah, that's a great question. I think I was. I think there's different kinds of funny, I was sort of the like, teacher's pet clown rather than the class clown. Like, I would always kind of play to the front of the room.
Yeah.
Rather than the back of the room, I'd be making like some George Bush joke or, that kind of thing. And I think I always had like a very natural silliness. And there was a way that I tried sometimes to compete in my own way. And I had a different sense of humor than like kind of all the guys in the class. So yeah, I think I had a quirky humor.
Definitely. Yeah, I had that sort of thing too and stuff. I mean, I was never voted the class clown, although I should have, because I was always disruptive in class and making jokes and everything,
Yeah. I would find those moments where I would just have like just the right thing at just the right moment to say, and like, maybe I wouldn't say anything for a day or a few days, and then there would be a moment where I'd be like, bam, and it would hit the right note. And that was probably my favorite thing. Not to always be like the center of attention, always be like clowning and, kind of loud.
Yeah. So, did you love stand-up comedy growing up?
I did. When I was a kid, we got HBO.
Yep.
And Comic Relief was this special that started to run. And
Yep.
They had Whoopi and Robin and Billy all hosting this amazing thing. And we had a videotape of it, so I would watch it, and I would watch it like, when kids watch things over and over again. I would watch that thing with 3 hours of comics with George Carlin, and they had, a million people coming out.
Yep.
And I just was fascinated by whatever they were doing. Like, how do you just get on stage and just talk? And suddenly all these people are laughing, and it's this huge event that's helping people in the world. Like, not only are they coming out being totally silly, all the sketches I loved were hilarious. I didn't understand them, but I loved them. And,
Yep.
because it was over my head at that time, but I knew this was probably very funny. And I loved that they were raising money for homeless. And
Yep.
It just seemed like can make people happy and laughing and helping the world, how could you not want to do that?
Yeah.
So, and then when Comedy Central started, I was watching that. I was, a little kid watching that, Short Attention Span Theater, and
Yep.
Mark Maron was hosting it, and
Yep.
it was this amazing bunch of, you could just watch stand-up, you could watch music videos on MTV. It was just constant. And I just remember thinking, I want to do this.
Yeah.
You have that too?
Yeah, oh my God. Comic relief was also a big part of my life growing up. But the beginning, though, was when I was about 2 years old, seeing Rodney Dangerfield's first Young Comedian special. And I've seen Bob Saget, Yakov Smirnoff, Louis Anderson, Rita Rudner. I just see them up there with this microphone, and people are laughing and responding to them, right? And then I see Sam Kinison, and then that changed me forever. It's oh my God, that's stand-up comedy too. I want to do that. Even at the age of 2, I wanted to do that. I mean, he was a profound influence on me.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff. Who are some of your influences?
Kind of Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Just his early albums. Woody Allen.
Yeah.
I think he just has an album called Stand Up Comics. And it's just this monologue, Jewish neurosis that's if you broke it down, to see every moment of his story is actually a joke. And kind of just the magic of how he wove that all together was amazing. So definitely one of my influences. And then later, for the past 10 years or so, I've been inspired by Mark Maron, definitely maybe 20 years. Maria Bamford, some of my favorites. And then, of course, local comics. Kamau Bell was my buddy for years, and then one day offered to mentor me. We would meet for coffee once a week and talk comedy and work on my jokes and talk about his rising success. And I feel just totally honored to have that in my life. And then there's this other lady, actually, when I was 12, maybe, I was at summer camp, and this woman, Nadia, was the director of camp, and she was doing stand-up in Denver or Boulder. She was buddies with Dana Gould, and I had never met a comic in my life, and she actually did stand-up at camp, at the coffee house at camp, and it was the coolest thing ever, and I was like, this is real. It's I could do this, and I started wanting to write jokes, and she has now become completely captivating figure as a Lutheran minister, and she's, she plays Super Bowl sized stadiums doing, talking about spirituality and religion. She's completely amazing, and I get to have that mentor as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, that's great. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they were influenced by Mark Maron.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I will admit he has been an influence on me for this podcast, I have to say, because I listen to WTF religiously, But, as far as stand-up, I haven't heard anybody say that they're influenced by him.
That's interesting. Yeah, when I moved to the Bay Area, I had this boyfriend, and he supported my interest in stand-up, and, I was going out and doing shows, and he said, there's this comic, Mark Maron, who just released a book called The Messiah Complex, and he's doing a book tour. He's in Oakland. So we went to the book tour, and he's reading some passages from his book, and it's just super connecting with me somehow. It's like I'm talking about spirituality and Judaism, but he's like super dark and super cynical, but has some kind of, facing inkling towards the light. And I just somehow, I loved his, like, the way he was integrating dark and light.
Yeah.
And, I started going to see him at the Punchline whenever he was calm, and I started writing letters to him, which was totally, fan girl behavior. But I would write like I'd have like a plane ticket. I would, hey, I'm in New York. I'm thinking of you. You're so awesome.
Yeah.
I was watching him like kind of whip up a crowd in this like frenzy, writing on stage, talking back to hecklers, whipping people into this almost sort of revolutionary haze. And I once said that to him. I was like, you're sort of like could incite a revolution if you wanted to. And he was like, yeah, for what? I don't know. But he was not really into my comments. But
yeah.
But yeah, he was, for some reason, all the pieces clicked for me. And so yeah, he was a mentor. The podcast I love, but I haven't listened to as much.
You should.
But I also feel like he's reaching into new territory in the ways that. Did you hear the one with Carrot Top?
Oh yeah.
It's like so confrontational and so connecting at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, he's brilliant in his sort of truth telling, but capacity to get away with confronting people in the ways that he does.
Yeah. I think a lot of people criticize Carrot Top because his name is so easy to remember, because he is a funny guy, but
yeah, I mean, you go that far in comedy, you can't not be funny. It's just what kind of funny are you looking for, right?
Right.
Respectable to have made it that far, and not everybody's kind of cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. Certainly. So did you do improv first before stand-up?
I remember doing an acting class.
Acting.
With some other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to, like, create characters, and I got a speaking spell, and I, like, turned myself into a robot, and I stayed in character. I had my speaking spell. My name is Alicia, so that was kind of improv-y.
Mm-hmm.
We had a video camera, and we were always making, like, silly movies and playing the piano and singing and, being silly. So I started writing jokes when I was, like, probably after I met Nadia, maybe? I'm not exactly sure. But I was, like, 11.
Mm-hmm.
So I was writing them. I just didn't know where or how to tell them because I didn't think they were funny yet. So, God, when I think about it, I wish that 11-year-old had, like, reached out to Nadia and said, hey, help me work on these jokes and help me find a place to do this. But we were doing a lot of, like, sketch comedy at summer camp. So I was doing that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And experimenting. I don't know if I was yet honing, but I was definitely experimenting with sketch and humor in general, and also physical humor, Like, I'm really super physical. So that's always been a big piece of what I do. It's like the embodied comedy, expressions and movements and characters and.
Yeah, that's one thing I remember about you the most. You always were one of those comics that puts a lot of performance into your stand-up act. You're very much like a performance artist type.
Love it. I actually was doing performance art at camp too. I loved it. I love performance art.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you were using that term in a different way, but kind of just like the theater of the absurd always was exciting to me. And I think I've gotten more into realism as I've done more. But I used to just be super absurd. I was interested actually. Back then, I was also interested in like Emo Phillips and kind of just the wackiness and Bobcat. And then I met this guy Eugene Merman at college, and that was where I first started doing stand-up. And he was super absurd, and I was super into it, loved it. He was another sort of mentor of mine, where like I wrote my first stand-up act. He was like, write some stuff, I'll look at it. And definitely encouraged me to take my first step on stage, and it does the night. It's awesome.
Yeah, Bobcat was also a huge influence on me too. I was always influenced by the guys who like put performance into their act, like him and Kinnison and Andrew Dice Clay, just guys who just performed, very, very, they put performance into their act, but maintaining, edge, the politically incorrect edge, and all that. That's what I've always been attracted to in comedy.
Right.
The first time you went up on stage, were you nervous?
Oh my God, I was so nervous. It was in college. Eugene had this open mic he was doing because he was majoring in comedy, and then I followed in those footsteps. And he kept being like, "All right, so when are you gonna do this?" And it took me like a month to get the courage up. I finally said I was going to do it, wrote, a bunch of notes out, and had some act outs, and had, something like a set of jokes. And I got to the show, and then I remembered that I'd forgotten my notes, and I ran all the way across the campus to come back. And, I'm like sweating, and I'm red, and I'm hot, and I'm like kind of tingling, and just this sort of like wave of euphoric anxiety washing over me. Like almost kind of want to crawl out of your skin, but like something is so happening right now. I think that's what I love about comedy is like it's urgent. Comedy is urgent.
Yes, it is.
It's almost like an emergency,
Yeah.
And if you don't treat it like that, then you're not getting all the benefits of the here and nowness of it. And I was terrified, and I got on stage, and then suddenly, I can't remember how I went into sort of maybe a trance or something on stage. I only remember like what it looks like on the video now. But yeah, I was really scared. I went into that trance. I might have still been nervous on stage, but I also felt like totally high, totally present, totally in the moment, totally exhilarated. Felt so natural and like exactly where I was supposed to be. It was amazing.
Yeah. And I remember this one bit you used to do that I loved, that you told me that you developed it in acting class or something, where you used to show your belly to the audience, and you would like go on this crazy tangent about the perfect man to marry or something like that. Yeah, I love that bit. Do you still do it?
Oh my God, I haven't done that forever.
Yeah.
No, that was a fun bit. I mean, you kind of got to start getting other material going. But, I mean, I have some bits that maybe came out of that I'm doing these days. But, yeah, I mean, my acting teacher really supported me both stepping in more fully into, like, understanding how to be a performer, but also, like, how to be a better stand-up. And he was, like, really encouraged me to get more vulnerable and more, and that's what I started leaning in towards realism, talking about how I really feel and, all the different parts of me. We were doing, like, a body part act out.
Yeah.
Okay, what does your belly say? Okay, what does your throat say? What is your, like, that was edgy and fun. and my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that bit.
It's a good
I
one.
I would improv with that bit over time and see what would come out of that. And then, inevitably, every time or two, some new line would come that I would improvise, and I would put those all together, and then have, like, more solid, surefire bits from the improv of it.
Mm-hmm. Are you pretty good at crowd work?
I'm good at it when I'm in practice. You know? I feel like there are definitely moments where I just kind of have no idea what to do, and I feel a little like an idiot. But I totally zinged, and I have totally zagged. And I feel like when I'm going up every night, that's when it's easiest. Then I can always take whatever's coming. I just don't always feel like it goes as well as I'd like it to. But that's why I love performing regularly. Is like if I'm doing shows constantly, then like there's just so much comfort on stage, and I just feel like, I would say I'm probably 5 to 10 times better at comeback on stage and doing crowd work than I am in real life. The rest of my life, I feel somewhat tongue-tied and sometimes like, I don't really know how to respond to this. But when I'm on stage, there's like spotlight shift thing.
Now, where were you before you were in San Francisco?
I was in Massachusetts, and I was doing comedy there. Eugene was just graduating from the college that I went to, and so when he stopped having an open mic, I started having an open mic in college out in Amherst, Mass. And that was really fun to say, okay, I'm taking over. I'm creating this. I'm going to have a show. I started booking comics from Boston, and people would come through and headline my show. And it was low key, but it was fun to start developing that producing muscle.
When I first met you, it was at the Brainwash Cafe when I started doing stand-up, and I thought you were very funny, very sweet. You were actually one of the few women comics that were actually nice to me, because so many of them thought that I was just like my onstage persona. I was very very misogynistic at that point because I wasn't getting any action. People thought
making you want to talk about that on stage.
Yeah, a lot of girls comics thought that I was just like that, and there are some that are still thinking that, they just won't give me the time of day, and they want to be comics that they don't have a thick skin, It's really weird.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you were very nice to me, and I don't know if you ever saw my act, but you apparently saw past it.
I did. I'm not remembering it at this point, but I saw everybody's act. That was what you do.
Yeah, it's shifted and it's varied over the years, but now it's at the point where I'm actually not ashamed of it. I like it, But I think the appeal that you have as a comic is your contagious smile that you have.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and those days at the Brainwash were pretty crazy. Everybody used to get there at 4:30 to sign up to go on at 6, sign up at 6, and then at 7 it started, and then by 8 o'clock or 8:30 it would finally get busy once Justin Scales showed up and destroyed the place.
Oh God! Yeah, he was such a character. He was a total character.
I had such high hopes.
Remember when Philip Watson took his pants off?
Yep, the mangina bit.
I just remember the pants off. I don't remember like, okay, there's like a beautiful black man with and I'm seeing all of his
Yeah.
right now, making some joke about something that I really don't understand what he's going with this. But
Yeah.
yeah, there were a lot of moments. Tony was such a king of all of that, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can't underestimate the magic of what Tony did for so many people and kept so much going.
Yeah, I mean, he gave me great advice. He told me that I was a really good joke writer, and I actually agree that I am a pretty good joke writer. I mean, I'm not the best, but I am pretty good, I have to admit. And I've gotten better in recent times, especially after coming from my car accident and actually pursuing the business more and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, he gave me some really good advice and stuff about making twists and turns, writing a joke and stuff.
I mean, I think people do praise him, but I still think he is, in a way, an unsung hero. That, the hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of people he's helped in his own way, just like having the show going constantly and the constant energy that he puts out that's so loving and supportive and also, cynical and funny, and he's a gem.
Mm-hmm. He absolutely is. And there are so many comics there that had great potential, but they just dropped out of comedy, and it's really sad.
Don't you wish you could just have a little magic wand, like a success wand?
Yeah.
And just at those moments, that moment where you see someone who's got potential and they just need something to keep them going. Just every few months, you just give them a little, and they keep going.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean,
We all say it's a game of attrition, right?
Yep. I mean, there's
you gotta keep going.
I mean, there's a dozen that stayed in it and are in LA right now doing pretty good. Chris Garcia, Ali Wong, Marcella Arqualo, Kasim Bentley, Mo Mandel, Rachel McDowell. God, so many of them.
So many. And I probably would not have picked those people out at the beginning to say, oh, there's going to be the ones who keep going. Like there were so many people where it was like, oh God, you're doing something magical, and of course all those folks that you just named are, of course, magical, but you don't always know who it's going to be. Who's gonna make it and just keep going and going. No man down, someone like that, like he's got an engine that's just, of course, no matter what he does, he's gonna keep going. So that makes sense. But some people who were like a little quieter, like Chris Garcia was always a little quieter, and it's wonderful to see people like that, the variety of people who keep going, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I knew Kasim would go far. I knew Chris Garcia would go far. I mean, even though, well, in the beginning, I remember Chris was always bombing and stuff, but then he got really good. Like within the first 6 months that I was doing it, he got really good. And I had such high hopes for for Justin Scales, and now he's all.
He was a bit of a live wire.
Yeah.
There was always a level of unpredictability that was a little frightening to me.
Well, I thought that.
I mean, I think that's magic on stage, but it's also like, how do you know that you're going to book somebody and they're going to? I don't mean to, bad mouth. I just mean like, it's like hard to tell what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's magic for comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to be the next Kinnison because he was pretty much our Kinnison at the Brainwash, because because everyone showed up there to see him and stuff. And, for whatever reason, after he got hit by that car, he just was never the same again. And I remember he did have an offer to be on some show or something, and he didn't take it. And it was really heartbreaking to me because I really thought he was going to be a huge star,
I didn't remember. I think I missed the car part. I'm so sad about that.
Oh, you don't remember? He came to the Brainwash in a wheelchair for a while.
Okay. I remember that.
And then he started walking with a cane after that.
Right. Wow, so you're bringing back vague memories.
Oh God, I remember those days so vividly. And then there was all these guys.
Well, I remember the French fries.
The what?
I just remember the French fries there. That was a big piece of my experience there. I remember a lot of audience people who would come regularly. I remember that, there was kind of a continuing contingent of regular audience members.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of pieces. I don't know, do you remember when Colin Mahan and Mike Spiegelman were there?
I think so.
And, I remember writing a joke with Colin. He was helping me. I can't remember it. Oh, now I remember it. It's all coming back. A lot of, I feel like I saw Mary Van Note. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Out there?
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
Remember, giving her this sort of new girl comic advice. I had seen her when she did a comedy class in college. I saw her at the Java course when she did her very first set. Mm-hmm. And I somehow found the college course and the professor online to write to her and say, she is amazing. She has to keep doing this. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, I can't get the information out. But then I saw her a few years later. Kind of a fun full circle loop.
Yeah. Do you remember Lee Stoneman?
No.
He was this oddball. Yeah, he was this oddball guy with a bald head. I used to hang out. What?
Lee Levine.
No.
No?
No. This
Lee Levine was an oddball guy with the bald head and glasses and a sweetheart and funny.
Oh no, this guy didn't have glasses.
Okay. No idea who that is.
Oh, he was this oddball. I hung out with him, but I didn't know he was that weird until he had this controversial falling out with. Do you remember Candy Chirilla?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had this huge falling out. It was on MySpace. They made all these videos where they were attacking each other because I guess they were hanging out. They made some films together and they put on YouTube. I remember them. They were pretty funny. And then I guess he got a little too aggressive with her and he wanted a relationship or something. And then they had this huge falling out. And then Lee was banned from the Brainwash. And then I got into contact with him just a few years ago and stuff, and he refused to talk about it. And I remember talking to Candy about it not long after it happened, and she told me she didn't want to talk about it either. So it was pretty bad.
Well, that makes sense. I probably wouldn't want to talk about it either.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy times. I stopped going there after about 2.5 years because I was working as a bouncer at the Swinging Door. You remember that place?
I don't.
In San Mateo. I remember seeing you do that belly bit there once, and it didn't go over well. They had a comedy night there.
It didn't always go over, and it's unpleasant when things don't go well.
Yeah.
People don't get it, and it's this is not, when you start doing personal comedy, it's not like you're doing a political bit and people don't get it, and they go, I don't like that bit about Trump. It's not very funny, but people aren't into your bit about your own body part. It's harder.
Yeah. Yeah. So I worked there so I was working there during the time I was doing stand up at the Brainwash, but then after a while I got tired of writing every day and going up on stage and stuff. So I took a year off, and then when I came back to comedy, I stopped hanging out in San Francisco and started hanging out in San Jose because that comedy scene was starting to open up, and also in San Mateo in my hometown. And I found a slightly better community. I started going through a lot of drama with comics in Silicon Valley a couple of years ago. Once I started pursuing it, and I still am, but it got better for me.
So when you started pursuing comedy more, you went through more drama?
Yeah, these comics that I knew when I first started hanging out in San Jose and stuff, they saw me not work too hard because I became an alcoholic during that time, and then once I started working hard and killing and not drinking and everything, they just couldn't handle that, so they got jealous, and so they started attacking me and shit, and they still are, but I don't listen to them.
So then it sounds like you stopped drinking?
Oh yeah, because if I drink, I'll get a bleeding ulcer in my liver.
That's a pretty big deal. Pretty good motivation.
Well, yeah, because I had a car accident. I spent 30 days in a coma.
I had no idea about that.
Oh yeah, it was all over Facebook. It was all over the news. It was a pretty big deal. They didn't think I was going to live.
When you
Yeah,
came out of a coma, do you remember anything from when you were in the coma, or just with a blank?
I just remember laying there and thinking to myself, why aren't I waking up? It was a really weird, surreal experience, and not one I'd like to live again.
Did you come out of it with some kind of shift or insight?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just saw, my whole life flash before my eyes, and I realized all the stupid things I had done, and that, life is too short, and I just realized, this is my calling, show business, and I gotta give it a try and try to make it, you know?
That's really huge. That's massive.
Yeah. It was,
Wow. I'm I'm uh, I'm moved by that. That's a big life experience and a huge shift in understanding. It sounds like.
hmm Yeah, it was pretty big. It was pretty big.
Wow. Wow.
So, what would you like to do with your comedy? I mean, do you have future goals?
I do have future goals. I have just recorded a pitch for a comedy special, and it's basically like an entire show called One Life Stand, 75 minutes of stand-up, and I would like that to be something like a Netflix special or, you know, some kind of stand-up special distributed widely in the near future. That's
Yeah.
a big goal. And then I'm working on a new stand-up show. New hour of material, and I am working on a TV pilot. So
Oh, nice.
I'd love to have a show, and I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
So those are some of my current goals. And to get to perform regularly for audiences who really get it or are about to get it. Those are my current goals.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm working on a one-man show and gathered up all my stand-up material the last 12 years and putting it into it. And because the comedy clubs are starting to get very corporate, and I'm kind of done trying to please them when I do the amateur showcases. So I'm creating my own work is what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I started doing that a number of years ago, and it just felt like doing the 5 minutes at a showcase here and there, and traveling 3 hours for a set, and the grind of it all stopped being so appealing. show together for the first show I did. You know, I had a whole show I put on the Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed everything. It changed everything about how fulfilling it was for me and how much fun I could have on stage. And it allowed people to really get what I'm up to, a whole other level, and give a bigger gift, really.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to have a Netflix special too, or HBO or Showtime. I hope, when I do get this thing, it leads to that, because I think I'm about ready for it.
Good for you.
I mean, they're starting.
Persistence is our key.
Yeah, I mean, they start doing the half-hour Netflix specials, which I think is pretty cool because back in the day they used to have the HBO one night stands or the half-hour Showtime specials.
Well, they're doing 15-minute specials too now.
Yeah,
so that's a whole other thing.
I think that's kind of a waste. 15 minutes.
I don't think it's. I think that's awesome. If you get a 15-minute special, then maybe you get an hour. I mean, I totally want to do my whole show. My hour 15 would be delightful to get to do that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the 30-minute specials are better, but hey, if I was offered a 15-minute one, I would definitely go do it.
Yeah, 15 minutes is not so long, I'm just going to turn this one down. I know it's Netflix, but I think I deserve a little more. Probably not going to do that,
Yeah.
right?
So do you want to continue to act?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, like, my show, when that starts happening, will definitely give me more possibilities around the acting experience. And something I am looking forward to is the ensemble nature of acting.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite shows is Arrested Development, and I love the idea of getting to, like, play and be silly and pretend to be serious with other people who are just totally delightful and fun. Like that would be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I hope that my acting skills. I have an amazing director, and I take acting classes, and I feel like I'm definitely getting better every day. And anytime someone offers me roles, I'm a yes to that.
Oh, that's great.
I just don't feel myself interested in playing the game of going to auditions and doing that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, auditions, they can be a real bummer.
Yeah. I don't have time for it.
Yeah. Now, this last question, I always ask comedians on the show this question. That some of them think it's a difficult question, and some of them don't. Do you have a favorite joke of all time?
I love this joke, this Jewish joke.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to tell it? Is that already? Someone recently asked me to tell the punchline of my favorite joke, which I thought was pretty funny.
You can tell me, yeah.
Well, it's a street joke. There's this rabbi, and he walks into the temple, the synagogue, and he kneels down, and he says, great sword, and holy of holies, I have nothing before you. I bow. And then the rich guy in the village walks in, and he sees the rabbi kind of making himself, prostrating, and he then bows even deeper, and he says, the highest on the high, the creator of all creation, the before, the beginning, the end, the future, before you, most holy, I am nothing. I am but a speck. I am but a speck on the flea of the hem of the dog that, you know, like on and on and on. And he bows. And then the pauper of the village comes in, and he bows, and he says, "Oh, great Creator, you are so high and so holy. I am nothing before you." And the rich guy turns to the rabbi and says, "Look who thinks he's nothing."
That's pretty good.
That's, for some reason, my favorite joke.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Mine is this one Eddie Murphy told on Delirious. He told it to a couple 13-year-olds in the audience. A bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. The bear says to the rabbit, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no. So the bear wiped his ass with the rabbit.
That's great.
Yeah.
Classic.
Love that joke.
Do you think he wrote that? Do you think he took that as like a street joke?
I think it's a street joke that's in the public domain, but I know a lot of people attribute it to him because I think he was the one who like made it known.
Yeah, I mean it's adorable.
Yeah, and I have I have a second punchline where I say, yeah, the rabbit wanted to jump in the river to wash himself. Instead, he died from the stink. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Alicia,
well, I guess it builds on the bear shit in the woods.
Yeah.
Name of that. I get it.
Yeah, it's a wordplay on that. There's a bear shit in the woods. Yeah.
Right.
Alicia, I thank you so much. This was so fun. And
thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a blast from the past. Thinking about all these amazing folks that we know.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for asking me to do this.
Oh, you have a friend that appear in me always, and I wish you so well.
Thanks, Tommy. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. You have a great night.
You too.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Alicia Dattner. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Alicia. That was a really great trip down memory lane. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.